Okay, so let's get started. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining, and welcome to our Sonar webinar entitled Clean Code Development in Your Cloud-Native Apps, where we will demonstrate how clean code is a key element to successful cloud-native applications, why clean code is vital to the long-term health of your code base, and how you can apply a clean code approach to your very own development team. I'm Andrew Osborne, your moderator for this webinar, which will be presented today by Clint Cameron. So Clint, if you can move us to the housekeeping slide, this will allow me to quickly go over a few points before we start. So this is a 30-minute session and will include a Q&A at the end. You were invited to submit your questions via the Q&A box in Zoom, not the chat box. So please use the Q&A box. We have two panelists joining us today, Robbie Bice and Alex Jugler from our sales, engineering, and product management teams, respectively. And they are tasked with answering as many of your questions live during this webinar. This session will be recorded, and we will send out a link via email in the coming days. Finally, at the end of this webinar, a short survey will pop up on your screen. We consider your feedback to be a gift, so thank you in advance for your participation. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to today's presenter, Clint Cameron. Clint is a product marketing manager at Sonar. He joined Sonar in 2018 and enjoys passionately and transparently promoting the value of clean code to developers at all experience levels. Previously, he held roles in product and project management, consulting, sales operations, and engineering. Clint, over to you.
Thanks, Andrew. Happy to be here, and welcome to everyone. Thanks for joining. I know we just took a poll, but I'd like to go ahead and get an idea of where everyone sits with respect to their cloud providers. So looks like the old poll is up. Sorry, my bad there. Okay, y'all should be able to see the new poll around cloud providers. So are folks using AWS, Google, or Azure, the usual suspects? Or perhaps you have another cloud provider you're using. So let me know. Looks like results are coming in nicely. A lot of Amazon and Azure, no surprise there. A few others, so let's see, about half and half between Amazon and Azure, and then Google and other. Let's see here, we got 100 and how many votes do we have? About 132. Okay, that's pretty good results there. I'll ahead share this with everyone. So as expected, probably for everyone, Amazon and Azure are the folks that are the providers that most folks are using. So great, thanks for that. Let's get started. So, sorry about that. So there's no doubt, cloud native is a disruptor and has fundamentally changed the relationship between applications and how they're built and how they run. So you chose, or you're considering cloud native for a reason. Certainly there are many benefits to be had, and yet you must be deliberate in your approach. It's all about mitigating your risk, right? So crashes in production, vulnerabilities, you want to keep your reputation high. All the while, you want to be accelerating your business, keeping maintenance costs low, innovate more with less rework. And of course, we want to keep that technical debt low. This all adds up to going as fast as possible with your organization, but you should do it in a smart, deliberate way. While cloud native can be a rewarding game changer for your org, it does come with risks. The challenges are very real. So there can be misconfigurations in your infrastructure. The vulnerabilities that we talked about before, they can escape into the wild and harm your users and cause damage to your organization. There's the chance to over-provision access to microservices. And then finally, there's just inexperience from a developer standpoint. So there's a lot packed together with cloud native native, there's a lot of technology, so there can be things easily overlooked. There can also be other things that perhaps you don't even know to look for. So the cloud native journey, it can be daunting, and Sonar is here to help you incorporate clean code practices into your organization. And with clean code, you'll be better positioned to reduce costs, improve the experience for your customers, deliver innovation to the market faster, and all the while you can protect your organizational reputation. So that sounds great. How does it work? Well, let me use an analogy here. A simple tree provides a nice one. We have the visible part, the leaves and the branches, which are what the users see, and it represents how the application behaves. Does it crash? Does it run well and efficiently? Is the code fit for production? And we have the hidden part, the roots representing the source code underpinnings of your software. Is the code maintainable? Does a technical debt impact the ability to innovate? So is this source code fit for development? Clean code is rooted, pun intended, in the idea that a sustainable quality application is only possible with solid underpinnings. It's fundamentally important that the source code be fit for both production and for future development. If we leave our analogy, pun intended, we can better define what we mean by clean code. And that is code that is secure, of high quality, and executes flawlessly. So we have a couple categories here, right? We could talk about the code being fit for development, meaning that it is easier for developers to understand and to change. So it's clear, it's concise, it's well structured, it's tested and testable. This means lower technical debt, and that leads to happy developers. And on the other hand, we can talk about the code being fit for usage, right? Fit for production. So it must fulfill the necessary requirements for users, for the operators, and the publishers. It means it's robust. It means it's secure, compliant, and nicely portable. And so that leads to a fast, reliable application, and that means happy users. So adopting a clean code approach leads to several key benefits for your development teams, your organization, and of course your users. So we can reduce operational reputation and security risks. We can minimize the time spent on maintenance. We can also keep developers happy and have low attrition. And of course, increase software longevity as a long-term asset. And so if we come back to that earlier reason for pursuing cloud native in the first place, clean code helps your business go as fast as possible. Okay, so before going further, I'd love to know where the audience is in their journey with cloud native. So let me get the other poll up here. Should all be seeing that now. If you could take a minute to let me know, maybe some folks are curious or strongly considering. Perhaps you've already started implementing. And there could be a few folks out there that are asking the question still, what is cloud native? All right, got some nice results coming in here. It's a pretty good split, honestly. Not sure what I expected necessarily in the poll, but it's good to see we have all audience types here. So it looks like I have quite a few votes in. So let me go ahead and in the poll, share the results. And we have a pretty good mix here, right? So a lot of folks already implementing, which is great. Hopefully clean code is a consideration for you to help your journey. And for the folks that are curious or considering, don't be scared, jump in. We're here to help. So let me stop sharing and continue on. Okay, let's explore how you implement a clean code practice in your organization. And we do this with the Sonar solution. It combines a workflow process called Clean as You Code with developer-first tools. We have a set of static code analysis tools to help find quality issues in your code. So starting with Sonar Lint, which catches issues right in your IDE. And we also have, for your DevOps workflow, there's Sonar Cube, which is the self-managed version, and then Sonar Cloud, which is the SaaS version. They both automatically perform static analysis of your pull requests and your branches and return back a pass-fail grade on your code. So next, let's see how you would implement this. So instead of trying to find areas to clean, as a developer, you simply need to focus on the code that you're writing right now. This is what we call the new code. And additionally, you don't merge unless you get back that passing grade from the Sonar quality gate. Now, when done this way, it's efficient, right? So that code is fresh in your mind. It's your code. You're very familiar with the context. It's also non-disruptive. You don't have to block time out for this. It's part of your daily job with very little overhead. You don't need to request a budget, so you don't have to work on someone else's old code. And because there's very little overhead, you can focus on solving interesting problems and doing your best work, putting your best foot forward. And the beauty is that everyone can adopt this, no matter the current state of your code base, the size of your organization, or the maturity of your workforce. And a very nice side effect is the existing code base becomes steadily and progressively cleaner over time. So let's say after 5 years, half your code base is now clean. And the rest that isn't touched yet is probably in a stable state and you don't want to touch it anyway. At Sonar, we validated these figures on our own code base, the code that goes into Sonar Cube. So if you use Sonar, these are results that you could expect. Now, what does Sonar and this clean as you code methodology look like in your workflow? Well, excuse me, all starts with Sonar Lint in your IDE, catching issues on the fly. So we see on the left-hand side here, we're coding in our IDE. Sonar Lint is an IDE extension for Visual Studio, VS Code, for Eclipse, and for JetBrains. So once we're done writing some code and we're ready to open that PR, that's where the tight DevOps integration that we have with Sonar Cube and with Sonar Cloud, they'll automatically pick up that PR, analyze the code, and return a pass-fail quality gate that tells you if you're following clean code practices. If it's passing, that code can be merged with confidence. It is fit for use and thus fit for production. That also means it is fit for change, right? So new business requests and future development by the team. If you failed, well, then you know that code should be reviewed and should be fixed before merging. Now, I have a quick demo to show you. Let me first give you an overview of the Sonar security rules that we have for Cloud Native. In building these security rules, we focused on 3 primary pillars of protection. So we have a set of rules designed to catch issues with access control, another set of rules to catch issues with permissions. And then finally, a set of rules that are going to capture issues related to encryption at rest and in transit. Okay, so I have a quick little demo here for you. So let me get out of full screen. So here I have a CloudFormation project that I forked from an open source repo. Now, I know I just discussed how you would write some code in Sonar Lint and open a PR, and that would kick off an analysis. Well, I only have a few moments with you folks, and so forgive me, I'm going to skip a couple steps here, and I'm going to show you a PR that I opened a couple days ago, in which Sonar Cloud has nicely picked up and automatically decorated. So here we can see we have a failed quality gate. The failure is not due to bugs. It's not due to code smells. However, it does look like we have some issues around security. And so here's a good time to tell you a little more about how Sonar treats security issues. We have a couple buckets. One is a vulnerability bucket, and that's just like it sounds. It is a known vulnerability and should be fixed. We also have the idea of a security hotspot, and these are chunks of code that seem suspicious, or it is not quite known if they are true vulnerabilities because they could be used in a certain context. So let's find out why our quality gate failed. I'm going to click here, which should then take me into Sonar Cloud. And it actually takes me to a user interface that we have specifically built for reviewing these security hotspots. So here you can see the 14 security hotspots that were flagged in my PR. We can also see that it's nicely organized against those pillars that I showed you just a moment ago. So we have, looks like 8 things to review with respect to permissions. There are 3 issues with respect to encryption of sensitive data. So let's take a look there. Here we can see that the issue relates to using a clear text protocol, and in fact, it's HTTP. So the question you want to ask then is, if this is public, that could be a bad idea. And so in the course of reviewing this, if this were, say, a public project, we'd want to fix that and then triage as fixed and change the status. And then move on to the remaining 13 security hotspots. Let me take a minute and also show you how we've designed our rules engine. And we've used a taxonomy that follows essentially where, what, and how. So we can see already on the where tab, if you will, that in line 412, we're using HTTP instead of HTTPS. And so it is an unsecure clear text protocol. We can also click on then the what tab, which then gives more information around clear text protocols, what the risk is in using those. We also have a tab dedicated to assessing the risk that has been raised. And then finally, how would we fix this? So we have some recommended practices. And because this is a Terraform, this is a CloudFormation project, we have some examples of relevant to Amazon, right? So Kinesis and Elasticache and ECS. The idea being there that, hey, it's nice if you raise an issue and make me aware of it, but it'd be even better if you could help me solve it. And even beyond that, that helps me grow as a developer. So perhaps maybe I don't make that mistake again. So, I mean, that's what we're all about. So let me get back into the presentation. Kick it back into full screen. And I can start to wrap things up here. So let me give you an overview of Sonar cloud native support, starting with the providers, right? So the usual suspects of Amazon, Azure, and Google, along with what we support around those associated technologies, right? So serverless and infrastructure as code and deployment. It's very much worth noting that Sonar not only catches issues in your cloud native projects, it's the solution for clean code in all your projects across 30 plus languages, frameworks, and technologies, finding issue types related to API misuse, regular expressions, secret detection, and more. So I'll finish things up with some key takeaways. Number one, source code is the key asset of your cloud native app. Clean code ensures that that app is secure, of the highest quality, and executes flawlessly in production. Another important point is that cloud native developers can directly impact the quality and security of the applications they are writing, and Sonar is here to help. The Sonar tooling and the clean as you code methodology, it's your recipe to responsibly and reliably go as fast as possible. And finally, let me finish. There will be some links provided in the post-webinar follow-up, along with a link to this recording so you can rewatch it with friends and family. And with that, I will give it back to Andrew. Thanks, everyone.
Hey, thanks, Clint. That was great. Thanks very much. So as we move into just a quick time of Q&A now, so feel free to pose your questions if you haven't done already, and I'll just start to gather those. I did just quickly want to share, as you can see on the screen, the next webinar that we have coming up, which is how to ace your SonarQube version upgrade, which will be held on April the 19th. Where you can learn about how you can ensure a smooth, no-fuss upgrade after the recent release of our 9.9 LTS. So there should be a link in the chat as we speak to register for that. So Clint, let's get some questions to you. The first question, do you plan to cover more IAC tools such as Bicep or Pulumi?
Yes, thanks, Andrew. So the answer is yes. We do plan to provide solutions around Bicep and Pulumi developers cleaning their code. So it's part of our roadmap, right, for 2023 and beyond. The idea is to cover those technologies along with coverage, more coverage for Google Cloud Deployment Manager, as well as Azure Resource Manager.
Cool. Thank you. Next question. Let me see. Can I check all of these issues in Visual Studio Code, VS Code?
Yes. So to answer that question, our integration with the IDEs and VS Code, it's called Sonar Lint, right? So as of now, the checks, the infrastructure as code checks are not yet in Sonar Lint. Those are getting picked up by Sonar Cube, which again is the self-managed application, or Sonar Cloud, which is your SaaS equivalent application. So that's where these are getting picked up. Thank you, Andrew.
Yep. Okay. Thanks, Clint. Another question for you. A tricky one. Let's pick a tricky one. How do you compare to other people like Checkmarx, TerraScan, Chekhov, and the others?
It is tricky. Thank you. Well, let me first say there's a lot of actors in the market, right? A dozen or more. And so we do our best to provide one solution to clean your code, right? So we have Sonar Lint in your IDE along with Sonar Q and Sonar Cloud. We have clear explanations, as I showed you. We have that taxonomy, right, where when there's an issue pops up, it is the where, what, and how. So helping you solve your problems. I think that's a big differentiator for us is that one is how we help you grow always as a developer, right? So regardless of the language or the DevOps platform, we can put the information right where you live, eat and breathe and write code and help you solve issues that are found. Another differentiator is the methodology, right? So the clean as you code methodology with the tools that enable that methodology are a key differentiator, right? And so sure, there's others in the marketplace, but when you look at the methodology and you look at our desire to help developers become better and always grow, it's a key differentiator.
Cool. I'm going to keep firing these questions. Clint, does it support AWS CDK?
Yes, we do. So we're supporting JavaScript and Python. So when you're writing, your code that translates into CloudFormation, those languages we're covering. Great.
Another question, you showed earlier a slide where using the clean as you code methodology showed a decreasing or increasing cleanliness, I think, if you want to describe it as that. Can you just take us through that again, just to help us understand how that is achieved over those, I think it's 5 years?
So it's the slide that showed decreasing. Sure. So if we imagine, so I mainly focused on new code and talked about how if you're a developer and you're writing code, the key thing with the clean as you code methodology is to focus on that. Now, if you have a code base, and let's say it's 1 million lines of code, and so if you scan that, there's going to be a lot that comes back, right? That's going to be a lot. Maybe there's some bugs in there, hopefully not, and maybe there's some vulnerabilities in there, hopefully not, but probably a lot of code smells for sure. That can seem quite daunting, and that is sort of your technical debt load. Well, what's beautiful around the clean as you code tech methodology is that you don't need to focus on that. Focus on what you're doing now, right? So fix things going from now. So that means that if I focus on that and I start looking at different files and changing and writing new code, I'm going to slowly work through my code base. And the things I'll be working on are the parts of your code base that are important in the sense of you're creating a new feature. So you're going to work on the code base related to that feature. Maybe there's something unstable in the application, so you're going to work on parts of code related to instability, things like that, right? So the fact that you're going to be working with the code means that's important code you're working with means I clean it. And so I clean it to a point where I'm passing that quality gate, right? It's all or nothing. It's not making it better. It is making it better to the point of being passing quality gate. The team can sit down and decide for themselves what that quality gate is, and then you pass that. And then that translates to all code from now. From today, it all is passing. So then that slowly works through. And over time, your technical debt goes down. And after about 5 years, that's what we saw with the Sonar Cube application, is that about half of that technical debt is gone. And what's left is the corners of your application that maybe just never get touched. Maybe it's a feature that's not used, or it's stable. So, don't fix what's not broken.
Cool.
Long answer there,
That's
but
great.
that's essentially what we're looking at.
Yeah, no, thanks, Clint. That definitely helps answer that question. So I appreciate it. And thanks to everybody who posed questions. Our community is a great place to also ask questions and also review those that have already been asked and responded to in the past. So I would definitely welcome and encourage people to visit our community. It's vibrant and there's a lot of activity there. And do please visit sonarsource.com for further information on how to clean as you code. And you can also find out more information about our future webinars and events. Clint, thank you again. Appreciate your time. And also thank you to everybody that's attended today. There will be a quick survey that pops up at the end of this. And we do consider your feedback to be a gift. So thank you in advance for that. With that, I'd like to just close the webinar, close the recording, and you'll get a link soon with access to that recording. Thank you again.